Hi, everyone. Today, Curt Jones has offered to come back for a second time. There's some of his history that he would like to share. So thank you, Curt, for coming back on. And it looks much warmer where you are than where I am now. Is there any rain today there?
No, not today. It's coming in tomorrow night.
Oh, well, you can have ours.
Yeah, well, I think it was yours because the front's coming down that way.
That's
So
good.
it should reach us tomorrow night.
So how did you want to start this off? I know that you had a few things, you had a few funny stories, and I know that you wanted to pass on the reality of being in combat and the first losses of Sigma. So I'm going to hand this over to you, and however that you want to record your history is good with me.
Well, it's this week, I believe it was the 22nd of October of 1966. I was fairly new into Sigma, having finished Reconto school and all, and uh, we got Opera or Sigma got sent out to outside into War Zone C uh, to do some recon work. And because the Ninth Infantry Division was using that area with the Viet Cong, the Ninth Infantry Division was the North Vietnamese Army, Ninth Division. And they were using that area with the local Viet Cong as a staging area. Apparently, they had been using that for many years. And they go all the way back to the war with the French. But anyhow, uh, I didn't know a whole lot of history about it. I just know that being fairly new, I was assigned to help with the reaction force. I wasn't on a recondo team at that particular time. So we were dispatched or moved our unit out to the forward operating base outside of Quan Loy. And anyway, the teams were sent out to do this and do that. And basically, we're going out for prisoner snatches, what has been the best case scenario, for intel. So, but we were the Americans. Our teams were being compromised pretty quickly out in the boonies, and be getting emergency exfiltrations. But the one particular team, it went out on the 21st of October, stayed overnight, and then the next morning they were compromised, got into a quick firefight, and two Americans, Boyd Anderson and Michael Newburn, were killed, along with another of our indigenous force. And of course, our reaction time was they got the emergency call. We all went out, sent the teams out to find them, and we did. Truthfully, I never got out of the helicopter. I was still circling with other teams just in case there was a fight going on, we would come in the backside or come into the flank, whichever, the case may be. I was in a helicopter with Major Carvel, and he was the XO, and Major Skiles was not the commander yet. It was still under Lieutenant Colonel Reich. But anyway, we got the bodies out and all that, got everybody out. Tried to find out what happened, and but this was the 22nd of October, which is coming up shortly, and that was I had met these guys, I knew them, talked to them, and like I say, I wasn't there long, so it's not like we were long friends, but we were comrades in arms, and so it was kind of an indoctrination into the wonderful world of combat, and so felt pretty bad about those guys.
Yeah, I know another contact of mine, a Sigma guy, Canadian guy. His name is Jim, and his first time out, the man in front of him was killed by a sniper, and he said
Oh,
that was his first yeah, induction to combat. And he's like, whoa, so it's a heavy hit, but yeah, thank you for sharing that. I mean, then it's real, right? Like, I mean, these people, they do want to remove you from the planet.
yeah. I mean, that's what they were there for.
Yeah,
I mean, we found out later, I mean, through our intelligence, so forth, that their first thing to do, they wanted to kill the Americans. So
I have heard that because they wanted to show the Indige that they weren't really they were mad at them, but they just wanted to kind of show that we'll let you go, right? I mean, some of the time.
yeah, I mean, it was, their thing was kill the Americans. That was, and they even had signs. Come find out later, they had signs posted: if you come through this area, you will be killed.
Wow.
So it wasn't written in American; it was written in Vietnamese.
Right. Right.
So
And when you were out in the jungle, did you ever hear them using the bamboo? Because some of them, the NVAU or VC use the bamboo to signal their friends, or like a trumpet. I know that was how they also.
I'd never heard the bamboo thing. I heard uh, rifle shots where they would do the rifle shots.
Okay,
Okay, and so we once that happened, then it was time for us, to
leave.
exfil, get out of the area. We knew that we were compromised,
Right.
and so
And did you ever experience any dogs there? Did the NVA have
no, I
put out?
never experienced. No, none, nobody on our teams. I don't recall anybody being compromised by dogs.
Right. Right. Wow.
Okay.
And so do you feel that the NVA knew exactly where you were going to be? Because I know that there was a mole in SOG a bit later on. So do you feel that they were tipped off that you would be in these certain areas?
I don't recall. No, I don't think. Not in my time. Not in my tenure there. Okay. We didn't feel that there was any moles or, any snitches or whatever you wanted to call them. Uh, because our guys were Cambodians. Okay.
Right,
They were
right,
Cambodian mercenaries. We
right,
didn't have any of the local Vietnamese.
right.
And as I explained earlier, or told you in the first
Yeah.
time we talked, our Cambodians did not like the Vietnamese, did not like South Vietnamese, did not like the North Vietnamese.
And were there any cases that you had heard of that they would kill, one another, like in a street fight? I mean, if they were out in the town or whatever?
No, uh-oh.
No.
We never had any cases of that.
Oh, that's good.
Okay.
Now, just for the public, um, when you're a team and you realize that it's time to be exfilled, and I know that every mission is different, but how long of a wait would you? I mean, once you know that the enemy are surrounding you, that's a pucker factor. So, what kind of for the public to know what kind of time frame are you on an average? Half an hour, 45
It could
minutes?
be a half an hour to an hour.
Wow.
It depended on where you were when you were compromised. and how long it would take you to get to, let's say, an extraction point.
A higher
Uh,
point? Would you
yeah,
try and find
a landing area where a helicopter could come get you.
right?
And if it was becoming very, if it was going to take too long, then our helicopters were set up with McGuire rigs, and they would
Okay.
drop you down and extract you two at a time.
Wow. Now,
Okay.
I have been told that you don't want to try and go up the rig in the middle, that you go on the side because it
Yeah.
spins around. So should I ever need to phone to call for like an extraction, at least I know how to how to get up one.
Yeah. Yeah. There, it was, uh, it was not a good way to get a ride,
Yeah.
but it was, but you didn't have a choice. You
And
were dangling.
would you clip yourself on then? Because I know other guys said that they were crawl up. They and again for the
They
public,
had a part on the rig where
right?
it could go around your wrist and you could lock yourself in case you got hit.
Right.
You weren't going to fall.
So just for the public, you're when you're being extracted on one of those rigs, sure, the objective is to get up into the chopper, but often you just wanted to get out of that area. You lock
Yes,
yourself on and just you were gone.
right. The
Right.
helicopter would go to the nearest, safest LZ landing zone, let you down as easily as possible, and then come down and pick you up.
Wow. As you're
You know,
dragged through the canopy, right?
well, they try to get you up,
Yeah.
straight up,
Yeah.
and but sometimes you did hit a few branches coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with your unit, who was who were the chopper guys? Was it the 20th SOS? I know later on they were in.
Truth is, just I can't recall who they
Yeah.
were. I think they were, if I remember correctly, I think they were called themselves Ghost Riders.
Okay. Yeah. Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what sticks in my brain.
Yeah.
And the they were pretty good, but the best guy there, when I say the best guy,
Yeah.
chopper pilots were great. They really were. They would. It seemed to me they could bring that chopper in on a dime, and but the man that I really had a lot of respect for was a guy named Gammons, who was Air Force. He was our fact pilot. I think
Okay.
he was a major. And as I recall, he had been in the program to be in the NASA rockets, to go to the moon
Wow.
as an astronaut. But he got injured in I believe, a car accident or something that knocked him out of the program. So he was our pilot, and he was really sharp. He could put that little Cessna right on top of you, and we had so we didn't have to talk on a radio with the probability of being monitored. We would use the clicker as
Okay. Yep. Yep.
like if he was to the left or right of us, we could hit one and stuff like that. We would do stuff so that he would come back, and once he was over top of you, we would signal him that he was on top of us, and he would then know exactly where you were.
And was
I
he
mean, he
armed?
was.
Was he armed at all? Like some of them, they would have like a rocket or
No,
two.
he had nothing on his plane.
Wow.
He
Wow.
just carried a sidearm. Yeah,
Brass balls on that guy.
yeah, yeah. He did.
And is it correct me if I'm wrong, the enemy they had something that was called RDF. Is that what it's called? When they can probably the terminology is wrong, but when they can triangulate that if you're on the walkie-talkie for the radio for too long, they
Yeah,
can triangulate.
they had the capability of monitoring our radio signals, our frequencies.
Wow.
So I think they're. I truthfully, I think they were a lot smarter than we gave them credit for, or were more modernized than they were given credit for. So
Well, that's been the really interesting thing on my doing the books that I've done to research who exactly of the Soviet bloc was there. And when you have the Russian technicians training the NVA on how to use these newer technology or Chinese, but I think there was no love lost there between the Vietnamese and the Chinese. But and the Cubans, they were there too, mainly building the Ho Chi Minh Trail, but there were some doing some, interrogations of
Yeah,
pilots and stuff.
I truthfully, I never recall hearing anything about the Cubans. The Russians and the Chinese, yes, but no Cubans.
And the SAM sites, they weren't down where you were they?
No,
No, they were further
not that I
north,
was
right?
aware of. No,
Yeah, yeah.
no. But
Interesting.
main thing we looked for also was their basically their telephone lines, their
Okay.
communication lines, and we would try to find those, and that way we could tap into them and monitor. You know,
Now, the interesting thing that, again, when I do these chats with you veterans, I can't assume that the public knows everything that I know, but I had been told that with those NVA phones, that they weren't like new or American phones at home, that they were never off the line. So you could, that's what, so you could, if you were tapped into that line, you could hear them talking even if the phone was down.
yeah, they were. It was an open,
An
apparently an
open line.
open communications.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was not like what we had, where you call an operator and say, "Hey,"
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. And so
yeah, it was none of that.
did you guys have like the wiretap thing where the agency maybe or somebody gave you a little recorder and you'd put it
Well,
on?
we left that up to our commo guys.
Okay,
If we came across an active line,
right,
then we would call and get somebody out there that knew the communication part. They knew how to tap in properly. I
right.
did not. That I wasn't. I was not trained in that. Yeah.
And what is kind of laughable is that when you read in a lot of these history books about the war, they talk about the trail, the Ho Chi Minh Trail. But every one of you men who were on the ground on the trail, tells that no, you had like a two lane, road there, and it was just
No, it
they,
was. Yeah,
yeah,
there was some of the roads is well, big enough. We called them ox cart
yeah,
size. They were big enough to take a big cart.
yeah.
So
And did you ever do kind of not Overwatch? That's the wrong word, but do your recon and watch vehicles go up and down the trail?
we had yeah, a couple of times I did. We went out. Stallings and I, we got fortunately got into a piece of high ground and nobody noticed us, and so we were able to monitor the trail for quite a while. And it was there was a lot of movement. So
And apparently with the drivers, no one driver would do the full distance. They would change over. So only the one soldier would know from A to B, and then another driver would take out from B to C. So if he was captured, that he didn't know the entirety of the route.
truthfully, I wasn't aware of how they did their command structure. I
Yeah.
just know that it seemed like they hop, skip, and jump battalion to battalion to battalion. So
Yeah. They were they
that's
were they were very adaptable and
well, yeah. We found
resourceful.
a we found a really big trail and a really big communication line uh, in Cambodia and coming into South Vietnam and coming into what they call the Forbidden Zone and
Okay.
part of War Zone C.
Right.
And it was pretty big. I mean, it was you could drive a big truck on it
Wow.
if you
Now,
wanted to.
as a side
So
question, there's lots of ruins and old, buildings from way, way back in Cambodia. Did you ever see any of those? Any of the old structures that were like covered by the jungle?
no, we just came at old hamlets, a lot of old hamlets,
Okay.
a lot of abandoned hamlets. Like I say, the Cambodians did not care very much for the Vietnamese, north and or south. And
Right.
with the war that close, and the big trails close, they abandoned their hamlets and basically got out of Dodge.
One of the other things that I thought was really, intriguing is that it's always been a topic that SOG members did not go over the fence wearing, tiger stripes. But obviously, with you guys in the early days, you were,
Yeah, in the early days, we had nothing but the Tigers,
right?
you know.
Did
So
you did you like those?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it was part of the uniform of the day. I mean, yeah, I
Yeah.
wore mine. We wore them pretty much all the time.
Was it
Yeah.
was it hard for them to find a pair of pants that would fit your legs?
No. It took them a little while to get me some uniforms.
And
You know,
I'm sure that your boot size is probably 13 or 14.
it was a 14.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I got those. So,
Yeah, that's cool.
and one thing, the first thing we did, I was told, uh, and they were truth. The jungle boots came with like
The
how do I
spike
call it?
protector.
Well, no, they came in. They had the inside the inner sole.
Yep.
They were a fabric which would supposedly let you breathe, but they
Okay.
would tear your feet up. So you throw those away immediately. And they were worthless. And found out that because of the heat and humidity and so forth, we found out that basically wearing no socks and no underwear
Yeah.
was the best thing to do to keep it from staying wet all the time
Yeah.
because of the perspiration and the
Yeah.
humidity.
Because you can get I know I don't need to tell you this, but for people watching that, we've heard about trench warfare during the First World War and trench foot, but you can also
Yeah,
get that in the jungle environment, right? Where
yeah,
that's a serious problem.
yeah. It's called jungle rot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
I know. Our one of our medics, Louis Decker, he was the jungle rot expert. He had made up some kind of lotion,
Oh, really?
liquid lotion to put on stuff if you got like that. So he had his own pharmacy going, so to speak.
Oh, that's cool. And
Yeah,
I saw that in one of your pictures. I believe that you it's always a question with the recon guys, what kind of knife did you carry? But in some of the pictures, I see that you were wearing U.S. Air Force survival knife. I believe that's
yeah.
what it
It
was
was
called.
instead of the big K bar, carried the Air Force survival knife because it was smaller and lighter.
Yeah,
And and what we were doing, being carrying as much as you can, but as light as you can possibly be, was a boon. Because sometimes I mean, you had to be quiet, you had to be as stealthy as possible, and I was the guy carrying the
radios.
radios,
Yeah,
which was fairly heavy.
yeah.
Yeah.
And like you were saying about carrying a pistol, if you have to use your knife in combat, you're having a really, really bad day, right?
Yes.
So it's not like in the movies where, Rambo's got this massive, 12-inch knife and he's flicking through the jungle. I mean,
Well, I don't have it here to show you, but I had in my Alice pack in the backpack, I carried a cut down, a trimmed down machete.
oh, okay.
Okay, so it had about a 12, 14-inch blade on it,
So that would help
and
you chop.
it was very sharp. So,
I'm sure you had it right back here that you could just pull it out.
well, actually, it was in the lower part. I could pull it out from the lower part of it instead of because the radio took up the upper part.
Right, right. And
Yeah,
the other thing about the knives, a lot of guys ask, well, for ease of grabbing it, did you have the handle facing down or facing up? I think you had yours down, if I believe,
correct.
right? Right.
Yes.
So you just have to make sure that when you pull it out, that you make sure that that's clasped in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you said last time that you wanted to talk about a funny story, and or a couple of funny stories. Um, and you're probably thinking now, which funny story did I say?
I can't remember. The one thing I had to like was I was going to tell you about Myrick first of all.
Yes, yes.
One thing about special forces over there, uh, we weren't really considered part of the regular army. Like the regular army guys, like whatever unit they were with, uh, the army was responsible for their food, getting food to them, whether it was sea rations or what. And but in the special forces, for what we were doing, we were primarily on our own when it came to food.
Wow.
We got paid an extra allotment each month called RNA, which stood for rations not available. So we could buy our own food places. But anyway, we had two guys in our camp that were scroungers, and Myrick was one of them. And he would go out to certain areas and make friends with supply sergeants and so forth and trade them. A lot of times we had guns that we picked up from our missions. We had enemy guns and enemy stuff, and we would trade the guys in the rear this stuff. So they had, souvenirs, and we would get what we needed. Like one time, Myrick came in, and under a helicopter, they had hanging from the helicopter a Connex full of steaks. Now, I can't remember exactly where these steaks were supposedly going, but anyway, they ended up in our camp. And I'm talking about a small Connex, not a great big thing. But that's how we got some of our stuff. I mean, it was it was well known that we had scroungers. I think every unit did, but and the funny story was that I was going to get to allude to. Somehow we got a big freezer refrigerator, but we didn't have enough generator power to run it all the time. So we had to find a generator. So a couple of our guys were down in the Saigon area one night drinking and having a good time. And apparently they met a fella who was in the Air Force, and he was a truck driver. And on his truck, he had a 10 kW generator. Well, anyway, they got this guy drunk and they made him offers on souvenirs and so forth. And our camp ended up with a brand new 10 kW generator that was supposed to go to a general's house somewhere in Saigon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it never, you know, the truck apparently, the story I think the guy was going to tell was the truck got stolen somewhere in Saigon or Tonsanute Air Force Base or something. But
Wow.
anyway, that's how we ended up with a 10 kW generator. Yeah.
That's funny. And I guess that the Air Force guys, they always had better food. Is that correct?
Oh, geez. Well, the Air Force guys, and we got it. One of the other funny story was the fact that we got picked up after an insertion, and I guess this was probably maybe around January or February of '67. The We were doing something outside of one of the old Michelin rubber plantations, and to the south of us, the Australians had something going on. And then we were coming in from the backside and we were providing them intelligence on what was going on. But anyway, we ran into a pretty sizable force and, fight started and so forth. Anyway, after it was all over, we got picked up by the Air Force at a local dirt grass strip. They came and got us in a C-123, the two-engine plane, and brought us back to Tonsanute. And because our base camp was close by. And the pilot, we got off the plane at Tonsanute, and he gets off the plane, and he saw that we'd been out for a while. We're all dirty and crusty and nasty. And he said, "Come on, boys." He said, "Lunch is on me. Let's go in." So he started walking us to the uh, officers' mess. And of course, none of us were officers. We were, enlisted people. Plus, we had, a dozen or so cambos with us. And this officer, he was a major. He had on a big pair of cowboy boots. After he got out of the plane, he put on his cowboy hat, and he had the pistol belt, the Western pistol belt with a
Wow.
great big hog leg, and with ivory handles. The
Wow.
six shooter with ivory handles. But anyway, he took us into the officers' mess, and uh, we got started in, and this enlisted man, I guess he was the mess sergeant, came up and started, hollering, "Hey, you guys can't come in here. Nah, you got to put your guns down." And of course, we started laughing because there's no such thing as a gun; it's a weapon, So anyway, he was just totally upset about us coming in there, and the fact that this major told him, "Don't worry about it, bring them food." And here we sit in the officers' mess at Thompson Newton. They had uh, linen tablecloths and all this. Not, I mean, it's like something like a Thanksgiving dinner at your grandma's house. You know, something we hadn't seen in quite a while. So,
Wow. And probably AC as well in there.
oh, they had AC, I'm
Yeah.
sure. I can't.
Yeah.
Oops, I'm
Am I-
just looking. Here's something happened.
Oh, can you see me?
Yep, there you are. Something came up on the screen and blocked you out. Okay. But anyway, yeah, that was. I heard they had AC and whatnot. That was something beyond what we had.
Now, after you came back and you were all healed up, you then joined the local police force. Um, During your time as being a policeman, you must have met quite a few Vietnam veterans. Did that
Oh
did
yeah,
that And so
yeah.
did you hear a lot of stories that you thought, okay, I was there and I was special forces and you weren't there? Did you hear a lot of people telling you stories that,
Well, I heard a lot of stuff that I felt it was untrue. So, I mean, you know, I don't want to say, oh, let's see. The easiest way to say it was that I guess the logistical portion of the army was like 7 to 1. In other words, you had 7 people to support one combat soldier.
yeah,
And so not everybody that went to Vietnam saw combat. And some of the stories that I heard, I would turn away and just walk out of a room or, you know, just shake my head and walk away without saying anything because it wasn't worth getting an argument with anybody about,
yeah, yeah.
you know.
And were there a lot of fellow policemen or police officers that had served as well in your?
Yeah, the class that I was in, let's say my academy class in the State Police Academy, uh, I'd say half of the guys of the 26 that were in my academy class, half of them were uh, ex-military. They had been
Wow.
either in the Air Force or the Marine Corps, uh, in the Army, you know. So, and we had one guy who was Coast Guard. I
Good
remember
old
that.
good old Coast Guard,
Yeah,
eh?
and I don't think I'm trying to remember. I don't think we didn't have any Navy guys in our class. It was just Marine Corps, Army, and Air Force, and one Coast Guard.
And now, did you stay in touch with any of your fellow teammates?
Well, the guys that I did was Samisi, Greg Samisi, and Big Lou, Billy Diaz,
Yeah,
and stayed in touch with them as much as I could.
right.
And then, of course, Samisi ended up being a policeman outside of Chicago, one of the towns outside of Chicago, and Diaz it was a pipe fitter, and he traveled quite a bit. He used to work on the nuclear power plants.
Wow.
So he ended up doing that. I know he left the Tampa area, left there, went up to Augusta, Georgia, near Fort Gordon, where they were building a nuclear power plant up in Augusta. And then he was out west, and he ended up staying out in the Phoenix area, Glendale. 'Cause
And are there any of your teammates still left?
none of mine. When I
Wow.
say that, Smisi's alive. Uh, he's probably 80 now or so. I think Walter Miller, he's still alive. He's up in Alaska. And I'd have to check to see if Chet Steckel was still alive. He was in a veterans home down outside of Ocala, Florida.
Okay. Wow.
And Bobby Woodfork, Woody, he was our commo guy. He's still alive because he and I still communicate, via emails and so forth. We're always sending stuff back and forth.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Here's a question that I ask all you combat veterans. Is there any movie that you've watched which touches on the truth or that would even remotely be accurate about the war?
I did not see Platoon. Okay. People say it was. I didn't see it. Uh, the last pretty much Vietnam War movie that I started watching was The Deer Hunter.
Okay. Yep.
And okay. And I walked out of it.
Right.
So I grabbed my wife and we left. And so trying to think if there's any others. Not really. I can't say I have personally. I try to stay away from those.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. And of course, we all know, you know, the Rambo movies was full of bovine excrement.
That that wasn't true? Kurt, are you telling me that all those movies weren't based on true events? You know what's
Sorry.
you know what's funny is you're very familiar with this book, Who's Who of MACV SOG by Stephen Sherman.
Yes,
Yeah.
Sherman's.
So in here there
Yeah.
is actually a Rambo. There is actually a man named Rambo, which is like funny. And I guess that
Really?
Rambo, yeah, the character Rambo um, is meant to be Sog. That's what they allude to. Um, but I know that's you
Okay.
know
Well, it's
it's
funny is well, I was going to say on the state police, one of our prosecutors, really good guy and a really super prosecutor. His name was Rambo also.
oh
And yeah, and his dad had used to be a fireman in Wilmington, and in Wilmington, Delaware, he was a fireman plus he was the head of the enforcement for the Alcoholic Beverage Association. So,
wow.
and but Rambo was that was their name. So,
This guy's name, it says here, was J.L. Rambo. The rank was A1C SOG, and I guess that he was Air Force. I guess it says AF, so I'm assuming.
okay.
But yeah, so that's kind of interesting. But that's yeah, yeah, that's kind of neat. Um, uh, Delaware, did that have a SWAT team or an ERT? They call it up here in Canada. They call it ERT team.
Here they had SWAT back in the years ago. It was called SWAT, but they changed the name to SORT,
Sword.
Special Operations, and so forth.
And did you ever think about joining that?
Well, I did at first. I was issued an M16 and so on and so forth and
Yeah.
whatnot, but I got involved with other stuff and didn't do that. So, uh, truthfully, way back when, a lot of us, the state police was a small agency in Delaware. Delaware was pretty rural at the time. A trooper, uh, you handled everything from a barking dog to a homicide. And the uh, the old saying was one riot, one trooper. And that's we handled everything.
Wow.
So uh, if there was a situation where somebody, I don't know, let's say had their wife tied to a chair and were going to hold themselves up in a house and so forth. Well, in the old days, we just kicked the door and went and got them.
Right.
We didn't try. There wasn't much of a negotiation process, you know. So that was just the way it was done in the old days. So
And so how long did you stay on the force for?
22,
Wow.
22 years. So,
And your and
yeah.
your yeah, and your injury, well, not your, well, it turned out to be an injury, but that you wounded leg never impeded your time on the police force?
No, I'll tell you what, I really go back after getting out of the hospital. Dr. Wylander at University of Delaware was the head trainer for the University of Delaware sports teams. And I grew up down the street from him, growing up as a kid. Knew, and his son was a year younger than me. But anyway, I went to him after getting out of the hospital. Of course, I was going to the University of Delaware, and I went to him and I said, and I took a file with me and showed him what the injuries were and so forth. And I asked him to put me on a regimen to rebuild my strength, and he did. So, uh, I worked out really hard. So, and I regained the strength in my leg, to compensate for what had been done. Now, I still didn't have any feeling in a lot of places, but it didn't hamper me at that point.
Wow. And I'm sure that on damp mornings that you probably feel it in your leg.
Oh yeah, I could tell you when a front was coming through.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My dad, nothing to do with combat, but had been shot in the leg by a 12 gauge, and it almost blew his leg off. And it was quite interesting at times that he would say, "Oh, there's rain coming," or I can feel it, you know.
yeah. Well, it's true.
So, going back to your Vietnam days, are there anything else that springs to mind that you'd like to talk about?
Well, I think I'm just trying to remember what was all we. I remember we had to go up work with the First Infantry Division out in the Song Bay area. Their base camp was in Phuc Vinh, was the where they were, and we went up. We had an FOB, a forward operating base outside of that, and we were doing a lot of the Intel were doing a lot of the recon for them. They didn't have at that particular time, 60, the spring of 67,
Yeah.
they did not have a a recon unit yet. So I guess that came later in, a lot of the regular American forces went through the reconto school and had their own recon teams. But at that particular time, they did not.
I
So,
guess I guess a question that I could ask you is because that you had to go home a lot earlier than what you expected, and you said that you had in fact actually signed up for a second tour. When you
yeah.
saw the news unfolding on the years that followed, it must have been very, frustrating. And what, as a combat veteran, and not just that, but like a special project guy, I don't want to say what do you feel went wrong, but to give you an example, I've talked to some veterans and they said that if the military was given the green light to go ahead and they did not have any rules of engagement, it would have been a really different outcome.
Oh, it would have been if we had, if the restrictions were taken off uh, and get the politics out of it and let the military do what it was trained to do and what it was supposed to do. I got an idea that war would have been over in a year or less.
Like, I guess
You know,
the powers that, I mean, or the Air Force wanted to bomb much further north, right? And they were
well,
told,
absolutely, and they would. I mean, the first thing you do, cut off all their logistics. An army can't fight without logistics,
yeah,
and if we'd have cut them off in Laos and cut them off in North Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, cut them all off, uh, they didn't have anything to fight with.
yeah.
It would have been over in a year or less.
Yeah. So you must have been very kind of frustrated when you could see this unfolding, and then finally, I mean, I can remember, I was born in '70, so I can remember being a little kid and seeing on the news the tanks rolling into Saigon, and my dad explaining as much as he could to a young kid, right? But I remember seeing that, and many years later, I thought, oh my God, and all those indige people that you guys work with to be put into re-educatement camps. I can't even say it,
Yeah.
but for like 10 or 15 or 20 years. I mean, brutal.
I know, it was crazy. And I'm sure those Cambodians that we worked with were probably, well, depending on, I'm sure the Khmer Rouge took care of them real quickly,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know. So
yeah,
I don't know, it was it falls back to politics.
yeah,
And we
yeah.
all know how that works out.
Yeah, and that's why when I said to you maybe on the first one or maybe off air, I'm not pro war, but I'm pro soldier because the politicians, it's just numbers, right? We're going to send X amount of people. And then my interaction with a lot of you guys hearing what was secretive at one point in history and to hear the real and read the real facts, you're like, oh wow, this is far. I don't know how many guys I've talked to that the books that I have above me here in my office, the history that's in those books is not the truth, so yeah, so it's kind of frustrating, but that old adage that you can't believe everything that you read is true. And that's why these interviews, podcasts I do with you veterans, so people can hear from your own words, you were there. It's not some guy rewriting, some history. So
Yeah, no, it's all I know is to keep the politicians out and and get rid of the armchair generals,
yeah, yeah.
you know.
The
Get rid of those people. The,
the overweight ones.
yeah,
I'm joking.
yeah, we can't get into we don't want to get into that.
So we've got another 15 minutes here. So as you guys all know, I like to keep it to an hour. Now you were saying that Michelin had the rubber plantations where you were doing your areas of operation. Did you ever see any French people there?
Uh, I, you know what? I did not, but I know there was quite a few civilians, the South Vietnamese, and some of the men and women were half French.
Okay.
Okay, and so uh, I'm trying to think. There was, I guess, up in the Trang where the headquarters was. We had to go up there before. There was some of the people working in the camp, the indigenous people, doing different jobs, administrative jobs. They had secretaries. They had people working there. They had, people working, I guess, in the mess halls or the kitchens and so forth. And they were half French, you know.
So did
So
you did you so did you ever experience any French food? I mean, did you if you went into like
no,
a bigger
no,
town? No.
no. I remember, I forget what night it was up at Nha Trang at the headquarters. Uh, got there. I forget what we were doing, but we had to go up to Nha Trang where the headquarters was for something. And the it seemed like, I'm going to say it was a Thursday night. They used to have a barbecue, and I mean it was a great big buffet, and they had everything you wanted, steaks. They had all kinds of stuff. I mean, it was living high on the hog. So, and even the enlisted man's club was air conditioned.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So,
And
yeah.
now with the, like I find that kind of interesting going back to the French people because it sounds I don't want to fill in history that I don't have the facts for, but there was a lot of money there in those rubber plants and plantations, and I'm sure some strings got pulled, and some people paid off the NVA or the VC to leave them alone because I mean they were
It
walking.
could be. Yeah. I'm I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, one thing on police work, as far as finding criminals, I mean, the first rule of thumb is follow the money,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, a criminal doesn't do anything just for, for the sake of, fun. They
Yeah.
do it for money,
Yeah.
So, whether it's financial crimes or whether it's just burglarizing places,
Right.
it's all about the money.
All
So,
about the money. That
yeah,
that needs to be a t-shirt. It's all about the money, you know?
it is. So that's, and it's true, and it's still true today.
Do you
Yeah.
ever miss being on the force?
Oh yeah, every day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, every day. So, I mean, a lot of us would walk out. I mean, we would start our jobs doing the state, the police work. You walk out, and the first thing you say is, like, you can't believe sometimes that they would pay me this much money to have this much fun. And we didn't get paid that much, but it was really enjoyable to get rid of bad people, you know.
So you don't have to expand on this question, but was there ever a time that you got into a gunfight while you were in the police force?
No,
No?
no, close, but no.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Um, as a closing question, I guess I'd ask, what would you like the public, or what do you feel is something about the war that people are totally wrong about, or like a frustration of yours when you hear, these historian people or podcasts or that kind of stuff, and you kind of grit your teeth. Like, to give you an example, is like, when a lot of you guys came off the plane, they were saying, baby killer and all that kind of stuff, when a lot of the information that the press had was not really accurate. I mean, things did happen. I'm not saying they didn't, but
Well, it's almost true today what it was back then. The people, I don't think they were given accurate uh, newscast. I don't think the information they got was accurate. And even today, I don't think the information that a lot of the news agencies put out are totally accurate.
yeah, no,
So,
they're always slanted to one side, or
yeah, it depends on what their audience is, and they give the news, and they try to, I guess I don't know, they cater to their audience.
yeah,
So whichever side you're on, whether you're
right.
left, right, middle, whatever.
Yeah,
So,
no, that's true. I was always told to watch more than one news outlet, and then whatever is overlapping is probably the truth, right? So,
somewhere in the middle lies the truth.
yeah,
And it's and the thing about Vietnam was what I disagreed totally with the news agencies and the military and all was the fact that seemed like each night they used to have this thing where so many were wounded and so many were
right,
killed. Every
right,
and I thought that was just awful. They shouldn't
yeah,
have done that.
no,
That was just abject stupidity.
yeah. I mean,
So,
and all the people, all of the mothers that had sons, or the women that had their husbands there, all fearful of they
oh
could be
yeah,
next, demoralizing the whole country through that, right?
yep, and yeah. So that was I found that to be disgusting.
Right. As a
Uh,
final question, this is my final question, Mr. Curt Jones, for today. Um, you have children, and as they became adults, have you shared some of your history with them, or did you not talk about it?
well, some of it I have.
Right.
Some of the details I haven't because
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. That's
It's not important. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't important to what was going on at the time or what they needed to know.
Yeah.
You know, and so it was. You know, it's like a sergeant that I had on the state police. In all the years, he said, up until recently, he said, I had no idea of what you did in the service.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And do
I mean, I
you,
talked about it with my late wife, you know,
yeah,
she understood it,
yeah,
you know, because unfortunately she was the victim of some of my midnight dreams, let's say, you
you
know.
wouldn't be the first
I don't
guy
want to
that,
call them I don't want to call them nightmares, but I mean,
yeah, yeah,
when you wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, you know,
sweaty
you
and
jump out of bed or something like that, and it's like, you think you heard something or whatever. It's like,
yeah. And I'm sure that for the longest time you probably slept with a gun underneath your bed or your pillow or in your side dresser, you know.
still do.
There, there you go.
You know, it's pretty much I haven't been without a firearm since 1965.
That's funny.
Yeah.
One of my uncles up here, and obviously the gun laws are a little bit different, but this was quite some time ago. My dad and I went over to his house, and I saw that there was a pistol next to his bed, and my dad said, "Is that loaded?" He said, "There's no point in it not being loaded," and it was just like, "Oh my God."
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of interesting.
I mean,
But
it's like if it's unloaded, you might as well have a rock in your hand.
yeah, yeah, that's
So,
true. Well, I thank you very much for your time. And do you think that having at first that you were kind of apprehensive about having some of your history out there, and then after we did the first one, so I guess I lied. I did ask you. I'm going to ask you one more question. Do you think that more Vietnam veterans should discuss some of their history, whatever they want to share?
yeah, I think so. That way it could be written down for future use and
Yeah,
future people can read it. Just like I enjoy reading the history of the American Civil War in the
right,
1860s. I
right,
enjoy that. I
yeah,
enjoy reading about the Spanish American War
right,
and, World War One, two, and so forth. And I
yeah,
think future generations, uh, they might get some kind of knowledge out of it that they could put to good use.
yes.
It's like here's not it, here's a book on what not to do.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
What does it mean? Yeah, yeah. No, that's true. Well, thank you again. And if you think of anything else in the near future, you're always welcome to come back on. You know,
Okay.
it's always an open door for you.
I
Because
appreciate
you might go, hey, I just remembered about the monkey story,
it.
or
Yeah.
something. So for the
Well,
for
you don't want to hear about my rice wine experience, I can tell you that. So, being
okay,
young and dumb.
we'll
Yeah.
we'll end it there on a laugh. So for the public,
Okay.
I'm going to conclude this, and thank you again, Mr. Jones, for spending an hour with me.
Hey, thank you, Jace. Probably appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Be sure to check out Pucker Factor, Stories of MACV SOG book series. They can be found at Barnes & Noble.